Hey everyone, Jeremy Senpai here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you like what you hear, feel free to hit like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. Alright, on with the show. As always, keep calm and put your headphones on. Hey everybody, Jeremy Senpai here, and I'm coming to you with yet another analysis video. So in preparation of this video, I actually rewatched a lot of Drake and Josh, and honestly, I definitely consider it a crime that so many of my favorite episodes aren't available anywhere, whether it's iTunes or streaming or anywhere. I'm talking about episodes like Driver's License, First Crush, etc., etc. Those are just the two big ones I could think of. If there's a favorite Drake and Josh episode of yours that you can't find anywhere, then please tell me down below. But anyway, I'm gonna cut right to. And you know what? Strangely enough, you can find all episodes of Season 3 and Season 4. But the episode that I want to talk about today is the Season 4 episode Josh is Done, which a lot of people definitely consider the darkest and by extension the most mature Drake and Josh episode. And honestly, it very rightfully deserves it. There is definitely a lot to deconstruct in this episode, but but like with all my others, I'm going to start from beginning with the episode, and we're going to deconstruct from there. Okay, the episode opens up with Josh getting some last minute cramming in for a chemistry test. And it's also worth noting that in the opening, Josh says how very strict their chemistry teacher is. Drake, on the other hand, makes it very clear that he doesn't care about the chemistry test. Instead, he opts Josh to play ping pong with him. And it goes pretty well. We see them having fun playing ping pong until Josh accidentally throws his paddle out the window. Drake goes down to get a replacement paddle, and Josh decides to study while he's waiting. While Drake is downstairs, he receives a phone call from a classmate named Kat saying that she wants to make out before class. So Drake decides to leave without letting Josh know. Josh comes down a couple moments later after Drake has left, and very rightfully so, he is angry because Drake did take off without him and didn't even tell Josh that they were going early. Yes, Drake did leave for the wrong reasons, but at the same time, the real wrong part here was the fact he didn't tell Josh that he was leaving, so Josh at the very least could go. All right, now we skip over to the scene at the school where the chemistry test is about to begin. The teacher locks the door just as Josh gets there, and the teacher is extremely strict. He tells Josh that if you're late to my class, you're not welcome in my class. Josh is then forced to take up a makeup test that Saturday, and he will be marked down one letter grade for it. Yeah, that is definitely beyond strict right there. I can understand the makeup test, but a whole letter grade. They are just hammering it in that this guy is unbearably strict. Josh, very rightfully, is angry at Drake and tries to attack him before he's forced out. Okay, now we skip back to Josh at home. He apparently has cooled off. He's drinking limeade and studying for the makeup test. And then Drake comes in and he gives Josh a very half-hearted apology, basically saying that Kat wanted to make out before class, which yeah, it's really a half-assed apology. Like this somehow makes up for Drake ditching Josh and being forced to deal with those consequences. Josh Josh isn't angry at Drake, but he does buff him off a bit. Drake asks him why. Drake asks him if he's going to be angry with him all this time, but Josh isn't angry with him. He just says, "I'm done with you." And Drake asks him, "What do you mean?" And Josh says, "I don't want anything to do with you anymore." This is a house where I live, and we're going to be roommates until I leave for college. But until then, we have nothing more to do with each other. Drake in the beginning is in denial. He doesn't see any problem with this. He even tells Megan that Josh will whine for a few days and then he'll get over it, indicating that this isn't the first time Josh has been done with Drake. Of course, we learn later on that this isn't the case right here. Okay, we skip to Saturday morning where Josh is away for his makeup test, and Drake has done nothing except lay in bed all day playing the guitar. And he's even playing the guitar very frustrated, like, in other words, it's not playing the way he wants, he can't get the exact note he wants. Okay, then we have Josh coming in all excited. He tells Megan that he aced his makeup test and that his teacher won't even mark it down a letter grade. So Josh earned a perfect 100 A plus right there. All right, and then he also tells Megan that when he was at the grocery store, that an attractive cashier asked him out on a date. And then finally, he tells Megan that he's off to play racquetball with Helen, his boss. Josh even adds that he and Helen have gotten along a lot better lately, most likely because. Okay, I'm going to add a few things here. It's no secret that Helen has a weak spot for Drake, and in later seasons, she does ease up on Josh a bit. I guess that's because he lost a lot of weight and he's become rather handsome himself. But I'd like to think that because Drake wasn't around Josh as much, now then Helen didn't have to compare the two as much. In other words, because Drake wasn't around Josh not so much, it didn't filter Helen's perception of Josh that Josh should act like Drake. In other words, Josh is getting along better with Helen because Drake isn't there to basically take away her attention. Megan tells Drake that it doesn't look like Josh is suffering much. Of course, Drake is still very much in denial about this and tells Megan, "You just wait. Josh's life would be miserable without me." Megan isn't very sure about that. She walks out, and then Drake actually breaks a string on his guitar. Okay, we cut a few days later where we see that Josh is actually getting along a lot better. He's hanging out with Craig, Eric, Crazy Steve, and a few other friends that he's made. Josh has a whole other friend group that doesn't revolve strictly around Drake, and a few of them are even people he works with, like Crazy Steve. He's basically telling Craig and Eric a story when he was at canoe camp, and then Drake interferes. Uh, and Drake, very denial-ish, very in denial, sorry, is asking Josh which movie they want to see. Apparently, it's a tradition of them to see the worst movie of that week. However, Josh rebuffs Drake, telling him that he and his friends are off to see a laser light show. So Drake, of course, is still in denial, asking, "It's been a whole week. When are you going to stop being angry at me?" But Josh just says, "I'm not angry at you. I'm just done with you," before walking away to join the rest of his friends. Okay, now we go to another scene at the movie theater where Craig and Eric come up to Josh. Apparently, Josh forgot his rash ointment in Eric's car, but Josh says he doesn't need it anymore because his rash is gone. And Craig and Eric tell Josh that he's had for 2 years. It couldn't just be gone all of a sudden, but Josh says that his doctor thinks it might have been stress related. And then he notices that's been gone for a little over a week, just about the time that he kicked Drake out of his life. So yeah, Drake, because of all the manic stress that he puts on Josh, is the reason why he always had that rash, that stress related rash. Josh doesn't seem to connect it much. He's just like, okay, cool. But Craig and Eric definitely caught on. And then we cut over to Josh telling a story about how he beat Helen at racquetball. Apparently, Helen's a pro and really good at it. And then we see Drake coming in. He's all sweaty, and he tells Josh that he had to walk all the way to the movie theater from home because the car wasn't filled up with gas. But Josh very rightfully says that it's not his job to fill up the car with gas, even saying that he put in enough gas for himself. So yeah, Josh apparently was responsible for a lot of things that Drake normally wasn't, like filling up the car with gas. And Josh even says that he estimated how much gas he would need for himself, and that if Drake wanted to use the car for himself, he's responsible for filling it up himself. Now, Drake very angrily says now that he's going to see a movie and he doesn't need a free ticket from Josh since he works at the movie theater, saying that their mom paid him $10 to leave the house. However, one of Josh's coworkers tells Drake that the movie tickets are $11, and Craig and Eric add that his snacks are going to cost him 6 or 7 more. And I'm not gonna lie, that's actually pretty cheap for movie snacks. Granted, I only have a drink and some candy, so that's about what I spend anyway. But anyway, Drake, very frustrated, just says he's just going into the movie theater. He just walks in, and then Josh picks up a walkie talkie and reports to security that Drake has walked into the movie theater without a ticket. Josh goes back to his story with his friends like it never happened, and then Drake is escorted out by 2 security guards. Now, Drake is actually shouting that Josh is a friend of his. The security officers ask Josh if Drake is a friend of his, but Josh very coldly just says, no, he's not. And then security forces Drake out of the movie theater. And then Josh just goes back to his story like it never even happened. Okay, now we cut back to a few days later, back at the chemistry classroom. We see that Josh is already there, and Drake just barely gets there in the nick of time. And he tells everybody that Josh usually wakes him up. Yet another example of Josh being the responsible one, and Drake kind of depending on it a bit too much. Drake is forced to sit down, and then his quote unquote girlfriend hookup Cat tells him that he has a zit. Drake is forced to sit down. He's going to sit down where Josh is, only to see that Josh has a new lab partner. Josh asked the teacher if they could exchange lab partners, and Drake is forced to sit with Clayton, who for some reason is very inaudible. You can't understand much of what he's saying. He might have a speech impediment. Anyway, the teacher tells everybody to follow the instructions of the experiment on the board. However, Drake has no idea what to do. He even tells Eric, who's trying to help him, that Josh just does everything and he watches. So Drake, not knowing what to do, that causes a chemical accident, and then they force him into the power shower. After they're done rinsing him off, Drake has had enough, and he just breaks down and tells Josh that he is sorry. He says that he's sorry to Josh for making him late, for all the other horrible things that he's done to him, and even tells Josh that he is way better off without Drake, and Drake just leaves. There's a moment of silence, and this strict teacher who wouldn't let you in the classroom if you were late, actually asked Josh if he wants to go talk to Drake. But Josh just says no, he wouldn't. He says it in a very calm and collected voice, and then class resumes. And then we see Drake laying on the ping pong table, all alone. He doesn't even care about the fact that Megan used his guitar to kill a spider, and doesn't even acknowledge her much. And then we cut to the real ending here, where Josh comes in, and they play ping pong just like they did at the beginning of the episode. Okay, there is a lot to deconstruct from this. This episode really plays in the part about the toxic relationship Drake has towards Josh. And hear me out a little bit here. Almost everything bad that's happened to Josh throughout the duration of the show has been directly or indirectly caused by Drake. Yes, there are a few exceptions I'm willing to admit, like First Crush, where Josh had trouble confessing to a girl he likes. Another example of this would be Driver's License, where Josh does run a red light, but Drake did blackmail him, so you know what, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Let's see. And but there are a lot of examples there, like the fact that Drake convinced Josh to turn their house into a hotel. Drake convinced Josh to help sell the Gary Coleman grills. Let's see. Let's see. Drake bought the orangutan Bobo and convinced Josh to go along with it. Drake hustling Pool, that was pretty bad. I will I will cut Drake a little bit of slack here because another episode that unfortunately we can't see is Guitar, where Josh accidentally burns Drake prize winning guitar that he won in a contest. That I'm willing to give a bit of leeway, but like I said, a lot of bad things that has happened to Josh throughout the series is directly or indirectly caused by Drake. Josh has to get foot surgery because Drake shot a potato at him and made him drop a barbell on his foot. Drake also made Josh forget his. Drake also forgot Josh's birthday, which caused him to run into Oprah later on in the episode, etc., etc. It just goes on and on and on. And yes, I'm not being black and white here saying that Drake is responsible for every little thing that's happened to Josh, but he's responsible for at least half, if not more. So this sort of thing isn't exactly out of left field because we all have people like that in our lives. We all have that one person who causes us so much stress, who seems to just get away with murder, and in doing so, that stress affects us more than it does them. So, in a way, this isn't completely out of left field for Josh just saying he's done with Drake. He doesn't even respond to it he doesn't even get angry at Drake. He just kind of ignores him and rebuffs him, and Josh handled that in probably the most mature way possible. He doesn't get angry at Drake, he just says, I'm done with you. I don't want anything to do with you. So, yeah. But at the same time, now we do see that Josh was responsible for a lot of things that Drake kind of took for granted for. Fueling up the car, waking him up, even covering his homework. Drake even said in season 1 that he tricks Josh into doing his homework. So yeah, Drake has kind of ridden on Josh's coattails for a bit, to the point that he probably doesn't know how to take care of himself much, or to very least take care of all the minor, small things that make up his life. And when we get to the ending here, we do see that they didn't have this heartfelt apology. Josh just went back to normal. Josh just treated things like they were normally. And Drake didn't learn a big lesson. He didn't try to make himself better, and that wasn't the point. It was the idea that Drake realized he was in the wrong and tried to do better for it. I mean, the show wouldn't be Drake and Josh if Drake just changed all of a sudden overnight. It wouldn't work like that. It's about Drake realizing he was in the wrong and trying to make up for it. That's the idea. That's how it works. It wasn't this big, sad, heartfelt apology. It was probably the best ending they could give. Drake and Josh just playing ping pong like they did in the beginning of the episode, and nothing ever happened. But I really do love this episode. It is definitely the darkest episode of Drake and Josh, which isn't really saying much. The show is incredibly lighthearted. It's a sitcom for young adults and teenagers. And so there's not really a lot of quote unquote dark moments or dark episodes. But But the very real message is that we do deal with toxic people, whether it's in our relationships, our friendships, our work relationships, whatever. And sometimes it does feel best to just cut those people out of our lives. But even sadder is that they may not realize the negative effect they have on you until it's too late and you don't want to have anything to do with them. But there's also a very interesting understory of forgiveness here. That if you hold on to that resentment and that grudge for too long, it could eat up you as much as it could the other person. So it's not about you forgiving the person for their wrongs for them, it's about you forgiving them for your sake, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's kind of all I have to say about Drake and Josh. Josh is done. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If there's another quote unquote dark episode that you want to share, go ahead. And feel free to comment below what your favorite Drake and Josh episode is. One of my personal favorites that we sadly may never see again is Driver's License. If anyone knows where we can see this stuff for free and legally, then feel free to tell us. But anyway, this is Jeremy Senpai sign off. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time.